Salutations, Geek Nation, and welcome back to Geek Culture Comeback. Just wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you guys dealing with the DCEU and some thoughts that Zack Snyder shared regarding the DCEU in comparison to the Marvel MCU. And basically, Zack Snyder, he was never going to work following the MCU model. At this point, it is just not going to happen. Here's why Marvel Studios storytelling format will never work in the DCEU, according to Zack Snyder. Okay, credited for kickstarting Warner Brothers and DC's own big screen franchise. The filmmaker helmed a few of the series' first entries, laying the foundation to the thriving universe that it is now. Snyder's histories with the DCEU is complicated, however. While Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice were deemed box office hits, they earned divisive reviews from both critics and fans. This resulted in a significant pivot from its original plan for the franchise, starting with Justice League, which is a can full of worms on its own. But being the primary creative force of the universe during its infancy, Snyder knows a thing or two about setting up a high-profile franchise. And after everything that's been said and done, he's happy that the DCEU seems to finally settled on an approach that best suitable for them. During a recent appearance on the YouTube channel The Film Junkie, the director shared his candid thoughts about Warner Brothers' strategies moving forward for the franchise he helped establish. Snyder zeroed in on the creation of the multiverse and says that it's the best path for the future considering the many other separate pockets of DC. This is also the reason why he believes that Marvel Studios' single continuity format will never work for the DCEU, as it will be difficult to write off other segments of the universe that are also well established. By the time the DCEU launched in 2013, the MCU had already had established brand with the Avengers, which capped off its phase one, solidifying Kevin Feige's interconnected universe. Between this and the age-old rivalry between Marvel and DC that goes back to the comics, comparison between the big screen franchises were inevitable. Since Marvel Studios was able to build an evolving film series that's both a massive and critical success, other filmmakers companies naturally wanted to copy their business and creative model in the hopes that it'll also work for them. Over the years, a couple of other interconnected franchises were attempted and ultimately failed, making it clear that Marvel Studios' approach isn't a one-size-fits-all format. Fortunately, while other budding franchises failed beyond repair, the DCEU preserved and eventually found its footing. Now, however, Marvel Studios is also realizing the limits of having rigid rules with continuity. Like the DCEU, it also embraces the idea of a multiverse as it expands into small screen offerings, something that DC has already been thriving in for years via the CW's Arrowverse, and as Snyder mentioned. There are obvious risks to this approach as it can be too complex to bring in new fans along the way, but it also allows for more creative freedom for the filmmakers as they're able to try a lot of out-of-the-box things. So what we have to realize is, although we love the MCU model, although we love it, it's great, it's wonderful, it's successful to say the least, it cannot and will not work for everyone because a lot of people have already established a few things. I've seen a few franchises where they try to do too much at one time. If we go back to, Justice League and Batman v Superman, to me, and this is my personal opinion, it feels like it was rushed. Okay, when we had a 10-year span where the MCU, came together, bit by bit, piece by piece, character by character. It had time for each character to develop, and then it culminated into the epic that it was. Whereas we get, Man of Steel, pretty good, not great. We get Wonder Woman, which was great. We get Aquaman, which was better than expected. And then we start to smash all those together where I think it fell because we were not emotionally invested in those particular films. So it is a great idea. It was a great idea since DCEU has embraced, or Snyder embraced, this whole multiverse narrative. I think it's a great idea. That way, it's not as much, stringent rules. You can cross over into a particular universe, and then people can go back to their own respective universe and do what they want. It seems to be working on television, because if we are being honest with ourselves, in television, DCEU, or the Arrowverse, is doing much better than what the Marvel universe is doing on television if we go show for show. Now I know some people say, "Oh yeah, but what about, Netflix and Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist and things like that?" Those were great. Those were some excellent shows. But they're going to compel they will pale in comparison when comparing them to the Arrowverse. And DCE just had a head start on the television thing, and they just seem to have gotten their act together. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, the MCU is leaps and bounds better than the DCEU. So, hey, those are my thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts. Sound out in the comment section down below. Don't forget to smash that notification bell, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Geek Culture Combat.